This first one's called A Garden Ashes. And it's about, I was thinking today about how terrifying it would be if we were like unable to enact violence upon others, which is kind of a weird thing to think about. But when you start thinking about it, it's like if we didn't have the power to do that, we would probably feel very small and horrible. And so that's where I started, which is a weird, I don't know. I was sleepy. Anyway, so this is called A Garden of Ashes. The first sign of trouble was the bombs. It started slowly when a shell crashed into an abandoned factory without going off. There was a homeless man on the news, one of those just before the commercial segments where the tone is somewhere between puzzled and bemused. She called me into the room to see because the man looked a little like an old college professor she'd had. The police officer they interviewed afterwards said the bomb had been analyzed and that there was no danger. It was full of flowers. Probably an art project or a prank that had gone too far. Then there were 4 in a week over different parts of town that actually worked. There would be the whistling sound, the crash, and then petals all over the place, raining down over a whole city block at a time. I was there for one of them, though I didn't see it happen. I was in a coffee shop and saw these little white specks falling and getting kicked up by the breeze like it was a ticker-tape parade. People on the street were taking videos and pictures. No one was hurt. No one was ever hurt. Still, we were afraid. The mayor was on TV saying not to worry, but he looked a little worried. A spokesman from the city bomb squad was on TV saying that there was no real danger outside of gravity, which his wording struck me as a lot more thoughtful than he meant it to be. A botanist was on TV saying this particular flower petal was an orchid thought to be extinct, this one a common peony, this one chrysanthemum, this one poppy, and this one silk, i.e. fake, i.e. none of his business. We watched them all, she and I, the 2 of us on the couch eating spaghetti, while other people watched and ate spaghetti on their own couches in their own homes. In this way, we learned a lot without learning anything. She took to going out with an umbrella all the time. For luck, she said. She both meant it and didn't. She continued to say it every time she took an umbrella for the rest of the time I knew her, which went on long after this thing with the bombs and all the rest had blown over. It was a thing that I loved, even as I didn't. Isn't life that way sometimes? The bombs kept falling, and the people kept being on TV, and we kept eating spaghetti without anyone coming forward to claim them, and without any kind of explanation. People had their theories. The president weighed in, even though it never spread beyond the city streets of our little town. A guy I knew from down the street was on Leno. There was a lot of nervous laughter. Ultimately, she and I had to talk about what it meant. She said it must be a miracle, and I agreed, knowing that we probably had different definitions of the word. We were talking about it in the kitchen while the noodles cooked for dinner, spaghetti again, and she leaned up against me at the stove and kissed my back. Then she ran her fingers over my shoulder and down my arm. I pressed back against her with my own weight. Some feelings don't have to be named to be known. The bombs, they didn't mean anything. They didn't mean anything. An explanation is a crackpot game. But that moment, okay, the moment, a miracle. So that's that one. Woo! Let me keep talking.